Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tailgaters, everyone. I must say, that might be the most wholesome tailgating video we'll have all year.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. You know, Bills Mafia, they start them young. You know,
They really do.
I guess that's, you know, when you have a football team that hasn't made the playoffs in how many, you know, maybe like, what has it been, like twice in the past couple decades? You know, you got to have something to keep the fan base going. So that's props to them for having the best tailgates in the NFL. But first, we're going to switch over to Major League Baseball, switching gears here from the NFL. So as we all know now, the Nationals swept the Cardinals after beating the Dodgers. So they've been the surprise team of the playoffs as the Astros and Yankees face off later tonight in their pivotal game 4. And so what do you think is going to go on with the rest of that series and the rest of the postseason?
If the Nationals have proven anything so far, the key to this postseason's been quality pitching. And between the Yankees and Astros, I think the Astros have the better pitching staff. They have a much better pitching staff, top to bottom. So I think the Astros will pull that one out. And then World Series between Nationals, Astros, I think Astros probably.
You have the Astros?
Yeah.
So I feel like most people have whatever team comes out of the AL as the champion because, I mean, Nationals, wild card team, everyone was expecting the Dodgers to come out. You know, Yankees and Astros are known as the powerhouse this season, them and the Dodgers. I'm actually going with the Nationals as my pick for the World Series. I mean, they've never been before. I know that means they might not have the experience, but Howie Kendrick's gone full. He's doing his David Freese impression this postseason, MVP of the NLCS. It's been crazy. And as far as the Astros and Yankees, I mean, obviously the Astros being up 2-1, I like their chances because I think the Yankees' only hope is to win these next 3 games. If the Yankees lose tonight, I think it's done. Because the problem is if you get to that game 7, you know Garrett Cole is pitching again, and no one has been able to hit Cole this postseason. So I think this next game tonight is pivotal, and the Yankees can't let it get to game 7. They have to take it in 6. Not saying it can't be done. The Yankees have one of the most prolific offenses this league has ever seen. So I definitely think it's possible. But for me, I'm going Astros, Nationals, and I'm having the Nationals in a pretty big upset. It would be one of the biggest upsets, I'd say, in World Series history. I mean, everyone kind of wrote them off as a playoff team. They're one of those teams that everyone kind of overlooked coming into the season.
I think an Astros-Nationals World Series would be, pitching-wise, the best pitching we've seen in a World Series. Between Scherzer, Strasburg, and Cole, Verlander, Greinke. The pitching in that World Series would just be amazing.
That would be unbelievable.
It would be.
I'd be excited to see that. Honestly, I kind of want to see that. But at the same time, if the Yankees make it, it's basically round 2 of, you know, Yankees, Astros, Yankees, Nationals, another like prolific offense versus outstanding pitching. And another thing, like the Nationals this postseason have only given up just over 3 runs per game, and that includes like the outlier where they gave up 10 against the Dodgers. So this has been a year where teams are scoring more runs than they ever have before. And then the Nationals going up in their first round against the Dodgers, who have one of the best offenses in the National League, outside that one outlier, you know, shut them down. And, you know, 3 runs a game in the postseason is, no matter what decade you're in, extremely good numbers. So it's just incredible that in today's day and age, they're able to do this. Like, I'm honestly amazed that they've been able to keep their these opposing teams with. I mean, the Cardinals, I believe they scored a total of 5 runs in that series, and 5 or 6, because did they score 1 or 2 in game 3? It was not a lot. The Cardinals were shut out. They scored 1 run, I believe, in game 2, and then they put up 4 in game 4. But by that time, Nationals put up 7 in the first inning. That game was. It would have taken another miracle Cardinal comeback to take that one. So I've just been blown away by this Nationals team.
Stick with us after this. We'll have Angelo on, and he'll be talking NBA preview with us.
Thanks for sticking with us, and welcome back to Tailgaters. We are now joined by Angelo. Thanks for being on the show, man. How are you feeling?
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited for the NBA season coming up in just a couple days. I think it's going to be a crazy one to watch. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think we all are. It's been all these off-season moves. Like, I just can't wait for this season to get rolling.
This season starts October 22nd with the Pelicans facing the defending champion Raptors and the Lakers facing the upstart Clippers. These teams have had wild off seasons. What should we expect from each of them this year?
I really think LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to be a dynamic duo. They've been showing it this preseason. Their skills complement each other, but their biggest problem is they really have no three-point shooting. Like, they have Danny Green and Avery Bradley, and that's it. I mean, that's it. And Danny Green, he's one of the grandpas of the league now. He's getting up there. Avery Bradley is also in his early 30s and has had injury issues. So I think there's just not a lot of depth with shooting, which really hurts them. And obviously they traded Lonzo Ball, and now we're seeing Lonzo knocking down threes in the gym. So I guess that's what you got to do. You got to play for the Lakers and leave the Lakers, and then you're a good shooter.
Yeah.
So I think that will really hurt them. The Clippers, I have a little bit higher expectations for them. Kawhi has won without super teams on his past two teams. I definitely wouldn't say San Antonio was a super team, and the Raptors definitely weren't. And now that he's paired with now that he is part of one, and that defense is stacked with him, Paul George, Patrick Beverley, three of, I'd say each are arguably top three in their position in defense. So I expect a lot for them. Pelicans, I really don't. I go either way. Lonzo's looked good recently. He's looks like he's really, he bulked up last season.
Mm-hmm.
He seems healthy. Zion has looked amazing. I think they could either miss the playoffs, or I think they could still. It just goes either way. It depends on their injuries. It depends on how those guys mesh. But they could get up, I think, in the top 4 seeds if everything clicks for them.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, just growing pains with the Pelicans this season. But also at the same time, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch with Zion Williamson and Lonzo Ball. Not a ton of depth on the rest of the team, but they do have some guys that might surprise you. They still got Drew Holiday.
Right.
And he's been one of the most underrated point guards in the past decade of the NBA. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch, the Pelicans. The Raptors, they're still going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference. Pascal Siakam really bloomed into a good power forward last season, and Kyle Lowry, he's still a dependable point guard. Clippers and Lakers, I think the same goes for them. You're going to see growing pains in the early season. It's going to be tough meshing with a new team, especially for the Lakers, because Lakers, they basically rebuilt their entire roster this offseason. Very few guys from the last year's team are sticking with them this year. There's going to be a lot of growing pains there. It takes time to build that chemistry, but towards the end of the season, LA, both the Clippers and the Lakers are going to be forces to be reckoned with in the Western Conference.
I think Pelicans, young, they're going to be a lot of fun watching how they play and the style play. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year.
Oh, really?
Too young. The West is so strong.
Yeah.
I could see them missing it, but they're going to be close. They're going to be fighting for that 8-7-6 all season. The Clippers, best defensive team in the league, easily. Kawhi's probably the best two-way player in the league. Paul George was an MVP candidate just last year before he got injured. Patrick Beverley is just lockdown defensive point guard. They're going to be extremely good. I think the Lakers are going to take a page out of the Raptors book from last year, and LeBron's not going to play very much. LeBron's going to be on a minutes load for the regular season. They're going to get that 5-6 spot in the West. LeBron's going to go full force in the playoffs, and then they're just going to carry.
Yeah. I agree.
They're going to rest. They're going to keep AD going and focus through him and surround AD with everyone. LeBron's going to play when he needs to, but sparingly through the regular season. Playoffs, full force. They're just going to go in all out on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I personally am I think I'm a little bit higher on the Pelicans than both of you. Like Zion, I mean, I know preseason doesn't mean that much, but I mean, he looks healthy after that injury, and I really think, if they're in the running for like that 8, 7, 6 seed, I think Zion has that clutch gene. I think he's got that LeBron clutch gene inside him, and I think he can really push him to that playoff spot. But anyways, moving on, it has been one of the craziest off seasons to date, where a bunch of players have just been shaken up across the league. So that being said, now that with the shakeup, what team do y'all think is going to win the chip this year?
This season, that's a tough call. I was going to say, if Kevin Durant's not injured this year, I'd say the Nets are an underdog favorite to win the championship this year. They got Kyrie and Durant this offseason. And that's just going to be one of the best teams to watch, but not this year with Durant still on injury. Kyrie still has, I think he's still got some growing to do as a player. Some immaturity issues in Boston, just not playing to the best of his ability, just kind of a mental thing. And I think that's going to hurt him with the Nets team that still has something to prove. A good Nets team, but they got plenty of work to do. But watch out for the Nets in the next coming seasons. But for the finals this year, I think it's going to come down to who plays better as the team in Los Angeles, Clippers or Lakers.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the safest call, Lakers, Clippers. In that matchup, I personally like the Clippers just because their defensive depth and the Lakers' lack of shooting. But I'm kind of going with a team that in previous years has been the all-in favorite, but now has been kind of written off. So if the Warriors get Klay Thompson back at full health by playoffs and they can get their way into the playoffs without him, I think they can be a force to be reckoned with, and I think they can take down the Giants. It's kind of weird thinking of the Warriors as not one of the Giants anymore.
Yeah.
But the Warriors made it to the finals without Kevin Durant, and easily, too. They, blew through Portland like they were nothing, and they were competitive with the Raptors until Thompson went down. And obviously they're not as good without Durant as they are with him, but they got D'Angelo Russell, who was balling out last season. And I think a team with Draymond, Steph, Klay, and D'Angelo Russell, you're telling me that team can't compete for a chip? I don't see how they are still not in this conversation if Klay is healthy. And if he isn't, I think that's too big of a blow. If Klay can't play or he only plays 15 minutes, I think it's the Clippers all the way. Their defense, in basketball, football, I think defense tends to win championships. And so with that defense in Los Angeles on the Clippers side, I think will be too much for other teams if Klay is not available for the Warriors at full health by the end of the season.
Big if, yeah.
I think the teams you guys are talking about definitely up there. I think the Nuggets could be another surprise team this year.
Yeah,
Same with Portland.
The
Nuggets didn't lose anyone in this offseason, but Michael Porter Jr. is finally back. He looks healthy. He was a top 3 talent coming out of last year's draft. With him full health, they could be really good. They were good last year, finished 2 seed in the West. It's not the same West anymore with Paul George and Kawhi and all the huge offseason moves. But the Nuggets can compete.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the East, it looks like Ben Simmons might have a 3-point shot this year.
It was 1-3.
But he shot it.
That's true.
No hesitation.
He did shoot it.
And it went in. If he keeps going with that 76ers team just took another huge step forward.
Oh, yeah.
They were great last year with Ben Simmons taking and making threes. Even if he doesn't make a lot, if he shoots 28 to 33%, the defense still has to respect him out there. And that just opens up the lane for Joel Embiid and everyone else.
Yeah.
That helps so much. And then Giannis probably had another great offseason of improving. He's been consistently working on his game every year. The Bucks will be still very much a contender in the East.
Yeah, I like your calls going to the teams that have been good in the previous couple years, but no one is really talking about for contention with Clippers, Lakers, Nets. So I like that. And you did remind me, I don't know if you saw that sequence that Michael Porter Jr. had where he blocked. He had the massive block and then raced down the field, and everyone was talking about his hustle. So you can his injury, as of right now. We know the Porters; they tend to be very injury prone. But as of right now, he looks very healthy, and there was a reason why he was still drafted in the lottery after playing hardly at all in his years at Mizzou. So if he can be at full health and full strength, and he's as good as everyone thought he was going to be coming out of high school, they could be dangerous, and they could surprise a lot of people.
And we talked earlier, the Lakers made huge waves this offseason with the move of Anthony Davis to LA and multiple others. But one of the bigger storylines this offseason has just been in the past couple weeks with a little back and forth between LeBron James on the Lakers and Rockets GM Daryl Morey, who sent geopolitical shockwaves just throughout the NBA. With his comments on China and Hong Kong, caused cancellations of events in China for the NBA, and LeBron James not only fielded several questions, he's very vocal about his opinion. How should we make sense of this ordeal as sports fans?
So you got to do some research. When I first saw this, I was mad. I was like, why is LeBron saying this? Like, come on now, is NBA all of a sudden pro-China? But so I had to look into it, and the first thing I looked for was the interview in China, and it was. And you're like, well, you don't want to say anything that's gonna make the Chinese government mad when you're in China. Yeah. But at the same time, like, Adam Silver flew out there to the meeting. He didn't have to say anything, and he chose to. He could have just stayed quiet. So I think his point, I don't think he was just saying it for his safety in China or for any business. I mean, it could have been for some business ventures he has there. We don't really know. But I think what he said he meant, because basically his point was, if an NBA player like himself had done something that Morey did, then that cost the NBA this much money, then they would have been punished. And he wanted Morey punished. And I see his point, but at the same time, I mean, maybe there's an example I'm not thinking of, but I personally can't think of a time where a player has been punished for their exercise of free speech in this sense. And I really don't like LeBron's advocacy for punishing a general manager for exercising their free speech on Twitter. To me, that seems pretty, I don't know, like almost tyrannistic, you know.
Sure, yeah.
Why, you know, he should be punished because he cost us money because he was saying his own opinions for supporting the Hong Kong protesters. And I really didn't like that. He has received a lot of backlash for this, and he said he's no longer talking about the controversy. And I mean, LeBron's a human too. He probably just didn't really know. I mean, he probably wasn't even sure that this meeting was going to be like, this was going to come out. And so, because it was supposed to be just a meeting between the players and Adam Silver. So I have to give him a little bit of a break there. But overall, I didn't like the sentiment of we need to punish Morey because he cost the NBA money for exercising his free speech.
I think one of the more interesting things about this is, since this has went down, everyone's looked for what LeBron would say about it, and Morey hasn't said another word about it. He's just completely stepped back. And business in China, 10% of the NBA's revenue has come from China, and they're expecting it to be like 20% by like 2030 or something insane like that. So business in China has been booming for the NBA. And Daryl Morey sent like 7 words out on the internet, and now everything's just a mess. And LeBron has made his opinions known on so many political things in America in these past couple years, and he's been vocal about what he wanted to see. So when anything vaguely political comes up, we always look to LeBron to say it because he's the face of the NBA. But he doesn't need to know everything about all the politics for this. He's an NBA player first. I don't think he has to be able to come up with well-articulate comments for every single thing out there.
So you think give him a break here, kind of deal?
He had nothing to do with the tweet. He had nothing to do with the organization. He's a player for a rival team. Sure. The Houston Rockets are going to be very good this year with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. He needs to be focusing on the Lakers and helping them win games.
See, that's the thing, though. He didn't have to say anything.
He kept getting bombarded with questions. He had to say something.
I mean, he shut it down since then, but from what I've seen, is this was a meeting with Silver. So, like, this is the thing I don't know. I don't know, like, there's a possibility LeBron didn't know that this was going to be reported and taken out. Honestly, I think the biggest foul here is not having that meeting more under wraps so that things that were said were not released to the media. Because since then, LeBron is like, I'm not talking about this. But same thing, like you said, LeBron's talking about a bunch of political things. It almost seems like, to me, he's criticizing Morey for doing something that he's been doing for years, for commenting on his political beliefs. But with international, and LeBron said Morey just doesn't understand the situation. And I don't know. I don't know how much Morey knows. I don't think LeBron knows how much Morey knows. So I just think that's the problem here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a sticky situation. Balancing between, political beliefs and playing a game. I hope it gets resolved soon, whatever it may be. Just as an NBA fan, you hate to see any strife, but it's going to come. But I'm just hoping for a great NBA season regardless. We can hopefully put this stuff behind us and focus on the game. Love to see that played out coming up real soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see that. Honestly, in a few weeks here, once the NBA season gets rolling, this is probably going to be behind us. No one's going to even be talking about us, talking about the situation.
Sure, yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks JJ for joining us. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you have a great week. See you next week.